came and went, and trees down.
Brian,
Yeah. Snow
Thank
comes
you.
tonight,
welcome. Sorry that we got started a little bit late. We had several things. We did start at 6 o'clock, and we had several things that we had to attend to in our closed session. But we are happy to be here and happy that you are here. So the first thing I'd like to do is ask for approval of our minutes from our December meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns about those minutes before we approve those? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I need approval of the agenda, and I don't believe we have any changes.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I didn't receive any public comments. Before I start, I do want to, just for the public, to say that Randy is out tonight. He is ill, and Steve is kind of helping us through the meeting, and so he's our guy tonight. So thank you, Steve, for being here. Starting with reports, we have a student report, and just Victoria's here, I believe. Do you want to come up? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Sorry we couldn't make it last one because it's a busy month for us. But so January is kind of a light month for the high school. We're just focusing on finals. So Stuco is working on planning winter formal. Still thinking of a theme for that, but we're working on it. We're also organizing Valentine roses we do every year for Valentine's Day. That's just where students can send other students roses if they like. We also have a partnership with Porchlight to collect blankets and gently used clothing to help with the organization's goal to decrease Dane County's homelessness population. And then we're also working on our second blood drive of the year. So students who do that, or just donors in general, have a chance to win 2 Super Bowl 58 tickets. And that could be any of you guys. So if you have any free time between Wednesday and Thursday from 9 to 2, assuming we don't get another snow day, stop on by to the dance room and
What's the time for that?
9 to 2 p.m.
9 to 2 this week.
Yes, I will be working it. So
Wednesday and
I'll check you
Thursday.
guys
In the field house, right?
Yes, yeah.
Actually, it's in the dance room.
Oh.
Right next to the field
Mhm.
house.
Yeah, by the field house, yeah.
And what did you say about the blanket drive?
Yeah, we're
Can you explain
partnering
that?
with Porchlight, which is an organization that works to decrease Dane County's homelessness population. So.
And if we have blankets, I mean, you are actually collecting blankets.
Yeah. Blankets and gently used clothing, you can drop it off at the high school.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, of course.
Did you have more that you needed to, or
No,
wanted
that's
to? Okay. Any questions for Victoria?
Congrats on the graduation.
Thank you.
That's so fantastic that you were
Oh.
able to do that.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So wonderful.
Yes.
Dental assistant.
Assisting, yeah. I hope to
Wonderful.
go to hygiene school, but I just started out with assisting to like get a benchmark to see if I can handle it.
Good
So,
for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for attending tonight. Okay, next we have a teacher report, and we have Mr. Fontes and
Ms. Willrich.
Ms. Willrich. Welcome.
Hi there, Shad Fonte from the middle school, WTA building rep, and Ms. Ellen Willrich, also building rep from the middle school. And we really just have pretty much celebrations, I think, is to share.
We love celebrations.
Just some thank yous. So, the big thing tonight was thanking probably Mr. Gutenberg for the early warning and snow day. I know he tries to wait as long as possible to make sure it's the correct call, but everyone just really appreciated that we had plenty of time to get this out of the way for tomorrow. Really gives everyone an advantage. Keep it coming like that. People were really thankful for the lunch being provided by admin for our PD day coming up on the 15th. And some people were really excited that they actually asked like dietary needs, like gluten-free, vegan, stuff like that. And also on that same PD Day, we have a student panel, who's gonna talk to us. Do you remember anything, what they said about that?
Just that we think it's a good opportunity
Yeah.
and we're excited to hear straight from the students.
Yeah, we have a guest speaker coming in too, student panel. Also, the intermediate school is really excited for opportunities to learn about robotics and AI and 3D printing. So, I don't know what's going on there, but that sounds pretty cool. And then, just from the WTA, we know a couple members are running for reelection. We'll have our candidate questionnaire and a candidate forum, so we'll have those too. We'd love to hear your thoughts. There's one more from Heritage. So there's a thank you from Heritage.
Just that heritage teachers are appreciative of compensated time to move all their belongings to their new building.
And then they get started on the middle school. So that'll be real nice. That's it from us. Do you have any questions for us?
Any questions?
So will you be endorsing candidates?
The WTA, yes, not me personally.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And at this point, I would take any comments from the board, any trainings or things that you attended in the last month?
Yeah, I've started listening to some tapes from Wisconsin Read dealing with Act 20. And, some interesting takeaways. Wisconsin, for example, in 1992 ranked 5th in the nation in reading scores, and by 2019 we were dropped to 26th in the nation, whereas you look at some other states, surprisingly, Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi have gone from the bottom 45 to into the top 20 using the programs that Act 20 is looking to push through. So some interesting gaps that we have, and it was just, again, kind of informative with the state of reading in Wisconsin
Perfect.
and the positive potential for Act 20.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? So we have our school board convention coming up in a week, and Dawn is our WASB resolution delegate. The resolutions were in board book, and I guess at this point, if anybody has anything within those resolutions that they would like to kind of offer to Dawn in support or concern, you may do that now or at any time between now and the time of the convention.
Yeah, I'll just apologize. I intended to have some ideas, and
Haven't read through the entire book
I
yet.
didn't get through it yet, so, but I will get back to
You
you.
know where I live, yes. Okay.
In the past
Actually-
too, I think we trusted our delegate to make decisions on behalf of the district, and I know you do a great job.
Thank you.
I felt that the resolutions this year were far more reasonable, and it shouldn't take all day and night.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's much less, both in content and in amount. Yeah.
This sounded like they were cleaning up a lot of language.
Yes,
Mhm.
they were more. yeah.
And I enjoy seeing the support for bringing more people into that as a profession, and
Oh, yeah,
and
the first
I didn't
couple
know if
wanting
anybody
to say.
disagreed with any of those motions, but
Yeah.
personally, I was happy to see it, so, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so any concerns, pass them to Dawn, and thank you for doing that. Next is just to announce our spring election update. So we have 2 seats that are up for election for April 2nd, I believe is when the election date is. We have Town of Westport, City of Middleton, City of Madison seat, and Ted Fry will be running again in that capacity. And in our Town of Vienna seat, Mark Hetzel and Ben Obil will be running for that seat. So thank you for choosing to do that and for being involved. Rebecca, did you talk to everybody about the campaign finance updates or?
I didn't personally talk to everybody about that, but if I had some of the only two people on the board that don't have to do this at this time are Mark and Ted, because they already turned that paperwork in with their campaign paperwork. Basically, this is just a way of being absolutely certain that you have the paperwork in that's most up to date. The attorneys at WASB did say that probably the Ethics Commission would not require this, but they felt that it was a very good practice to have it on file and up to date. If you have any questions, please contact me.
And those new forms are in your folders, and they can just be put back in your folder after you fill them out. Thank you. Next, at this time of the year, we begin looking at all of our evaluation process. So for a board, we self-evaluate our effectiveness as a board, and we do that through our school perception survey and open-ended questions. Do we have the codes?
I have not received that yet.
Okay.
I'm guessing that I will in the next week or so.
And then you just send
Yeah.
those to us, okay. We also look at evaluating the superintendent. I did talk to Randy about that with the ending of his career and that the timing of it. We're going to just make that optional. He said he didn't really need an end of evaluation. If anybody feels like they would like to do that for him, please do that. Otherwise, he said we could skip his evaluation. We will be doing the priority evaluation though, so that Rebecca will be kind of sending all of those to us. But I just kind of wanted to put it out there to have it on your radar. All of them need to be back to us by our March board meeting so that we can start scheduling our evaluation meeting.
Is there a plan to have a retreat this summer with our new superintendent so we could set the platform for how we're going to be evaluating
Yeah.
Dr. Kelsey Brown?
I think that's a good idea. Okay, so maybe at the end of the meeting, we should actually look at that evaluation time, because I know that's a really busy time, and it has to be done within a framework of, you know, before we might lose a board member. Okay, any questions on the evaluations? Okay, moving on to our committee report, starting with our co-curricular committee report. I'm going to turn that over to Katie to start, and maybe invite Nick to come up and talk about some of the co-curriculars.
So we had our co-curricular meeting last weekend or 2 weeks ago, and Nick did a really nice job of putting together a summary of our fall sports activities, including number of students participating, grade point averages, and we have so much to celebrate because there's so much success with the students in every way, and they've given our community and parents and their fellow students lots to celebrate and lots of really great memories. So Nick, I don't know if you want to go through the co-curricular report, just summary really quickly, and then we can move on to some of them we'll work through.
Yeah, the summary, which you can see up here, that was just information that was pulled out of the actual report. So the report goes into a little bit more detail. Like I said at the first meeting I was at back in the fall, this can look and show whatever you really are desiring it to show. So I just kind of plucked some key points out from the fall that you can see there in regards to participation rate of the building and where we're at with both the high school and the middle school. I included the top GPA by cumulative points, which is a little bit challenging in the fall because we haven't had a semester occur yet, so you're really relying on past numbers for that. Obviously, when we get to the winter and the spring reports, those will be updated a little bit more. You can see the girls swim, the girls tennis was the leaders there. And then we had over 20 students recognized as either all-state scholar athletes. And I believe I mentioned this at the committee meeting, but those are largely predicated on their coaches being involved in their coaches association. And those coaches associations are what puts out the nominations and the awards for scholar athletes in their sport. Admittedly, some coaches associations do a lot better at that than others. Scrolling down, I just kind of gave a 3-year comparison there of where we're at with that participation. So we saw the school building percentage that was involved in athletics. We've continued to go up, which is obviously a great sign. And looking at that COVID rebound, if you will, I know that term's used a lot. We kind of continue to march upwards with a good trend there for student body participation. In the highlights section, you can kind of see there, I tried to pull something from each of the WIAA sports as far as something that they accomplished. I think most of you are aware that we had a pretty busy fall as far as teams going pretty far into the postseason. Whether it be individual sports, whether it be as a team, there was a lot of success up and down in terms of accomplishments by the teams. Are there any questions on those highlights or anything with the actual teams from the fall? Okay. And then the last thing we did talk about is this next school year, the 24-25 school year, is the first year that the tournament success factor gets applied. This was passed last spring by the WIA at the annual meeting. To summarize it, you acquire a point or you accumulate points depending on how successful your season was. So how far you go in the postseason earns you up to 6 points. So if you go to state, you win state, you earn 6 points. You go to state, you lose state, you earn 5 points. WIA takes a 3-year running total on that to determine, all right, you were Division II in football this past year, you're making the jump up to Division I. So for example, that applied to football for next year, regardless of where our enrollment falls, will be pushed up to Division I because of that past success. It's evaluated each and every year. So say, for example, football loses in the first round of the playoffs next year, it might be it would drop them back into their normal division for points in that sport. It really won't impact other sports we have because we're Division I in just about everything else as it stands, so there's no impact for that. This is a huge issue in cross country not because it affects, for example, our cross country team, but affects some Division II powerhouses that were moved up to Division I and kind of throws off those brackets. So it's not like it's something you can just look at and go, it doesn't affect us, it doesn't affect us moving. It still could affect us because geographically it's pulling in other teams and putting them into Division I that were Division II. So if you ask those Division II schools, they have plenty to say about that. But as far as just us in fall right now, it's Division I. For football, that's going to change because of the tournament success factor.
Got a question. In this success, so I'm Division II, I made it to cross country state, I won state, so that bumps me up. Does a Division I school then get bumped down?
It's a good question. So it depends on the sport. Like football, for example, they have to have an equal amount of teams in each division because it's not everybody makes the playoffs in football. So for cross country, it does move somebody down or somebody moves up. You can also appeal if you are moved up, if you've acquired enough points to move you up. However, only one of and the WA did not make this public, only one of the 6 known appeals was actually granted, and that's because that team was already going to be in that division because of enrollment. So the WA kind of said that first year, we're not pushing anybody's appeal through, if you will. You're going to go to that division that you were moved up because of the success factor of the points. But yes, it does adjust those top lines.
So from our standpoint, it could potentially affect us.
Yeah.
Because, if, our girls go up to, we're Division I, right? But if the boys drop down to Division II, now you've got, coaching, and do you send these guys to different meets? So, it could be a challenge for us.
Yeah, there's a couple schools that are very upset because of that very reason, because boys' staff is going one way, the girls' staff is going the other. They're having to decide to split up coaches. They're having to, essentially get 2 different buses going different ways. So it is definitely a challenge. If your boys' team, for example, and again, just use cross-country again, is bumped up and your girls is still at D2, you're in a whole nother field in terms of what you're actually racing and competing against.
So is this a trial year or?
They haven't
or-
used the word trial. They've said that they will tweak it. This is all about looking at things the first year. It was passed by the membership, so that's why they implemented it. I would be shocked though, I don't think you're gonna see any changes after this year. I think it's gonna be at least another year, or maybe 2 before they look at that.
So did we vote on it?
I don't know what Waunakee did. It was back in spring, so I wasn't here yet. It passed overwhelmingly, and a lot of Division I schools thought at first, well, we're already Division I, we can't move up, so what does this affect? I'll just vote yes, or I'll just vote no. And so it did pass by a couple hundred votes, if I recall right, in spring. It wasn't close anyway.
How do they do the scale? Like, you accumulate the points, it's the 3-year average. What is the scale, the metric of comparing it to other schools then?
So-
Do you have a pool that gets these points now and then?
Yeah, so again, it's been pretty secret, not too transparent, which hasn't been great. The WA said, if you want to know how many points you have, you got to ask us. There's not something we can log on to or look at. Now, we knew, based on some other factors, that football was going to put us into Division I. It was probably going to put us already into Division I because of enrollment, but for those other sports, it doesn't, we're not close enough on that cut line to drop D1 or D2 where that would have directly affected us right now. So as far as the points go on accumulating them, it's been kind of a secret mystery. You just got to go back the last 3 years and do your own math and then say, all right, we've got enough points to jump up in this sport, not this one. Maybe next year, if we go here, we'll jump up.
Why is this not transparent?
It's part of many of the questions we've asked as athletic directors to the WIA. I could see that in spring getting a little bit more momentum to have a database, if you will, where we can log on and look at that instead of having to say, all right, here's the number I have, I think we're jumping up, is this what you guys have? Instead of making it like this game where we have to go and find this information rather than.
Well, it's got to be difficult to plan your coaching. Again, if we're being, obviously we're not being bumped up, but the other programs. What's the driving factor behind this? Do you, in your experience, what's driving this?
It started about 8 years ago. There was a multiplier that was going to be added to private schools. It was something like 1.25, where they would look at their enrollment and some other factors, and if you met that threshold, they would bump you up a division. That got shot down pretty quickly because private schools thought it was just isolating them and looking at them. And so this is kind of where it's come from a lot of schools that have struggled to compete in the division that they're in. So their enrollment says they're Division II or III or whatever it might be. They've said, well, there's all these other outside factors that affect this. It might be free and reduced lunch rates. It might be the amount of students that have been lost in a 5-year period. They've still stayed in that division that their enrollment says they should be in. But those factors have kind of weighed in, and they said we can't compete in the division that we're in just because you're looking at enrollment. Here's the other things that cause the problem for us to be. Not go to state or win state, but even win a playoff game or go to a sectional or a regional final.
So could a Division II bump down to a Division III?
Yep. So you could request relief in that other way too. Again, to do that, you have to, because this is the first year it's existed, nobody's had a successful one go through for that yet. So this was about an 18-month process with the WIA, put a task force together to look at all of these factors that were led by a couple superintendents, a couple athletic administrators, principals. I don't think it's a perfect solution by any means. Like I said, it's not over. It's going to get tweaked. Just how quickly will it get tweaked? How transparent will everything be? Things like that.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for all your work too.
Yep.
Appreciate you putting together this report and keeping all our kids engaged. Good, positive, healthy activities. And then the next on our co-curricular considerations agenda is Tiffany's been working on promoting 2 One's a league and another's a program for our students. I don't know if you want to come up and share what has been proposed, and both of the Adaptive Sports League and the Best Buddies were approved by our committee at the 3-0 vote.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming you read the documentation, so I don't know if you want me to overview or if you just want to ask questions, but do either.
Questions? Anybody has questions?
Which I don't have any.
Sounds
Does
like
anybody have
really
questions?
great opportunities for our kids.
Wonderful programs.
Super excited. Actually, Mount Horeb just reached out to me today and said, hey, I heard you're doing this program, you want to do it too. So we're kind of collaborating around some other districts in the area that might jump in.
Good. Sharon?
I compliment you on both programs, Adaptive Sports League and Best Buddies. It looks like it's a great opportunity for the greater amount of our students, so thank you.
Super excited about it.
So we do need approval of these, and we maybe could take both of those two categories together
Motion to
if
approve that.
people are
Second.
comfortable. Any
Second.
questions on those? So we had a first and a second by Katie.
Okay.
Okay, and so any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you.
And, yeah, and then in addition, we have an investment club and a car enthusiast club, which are two more opportunities for students to be connected and engaged within our schools. And both of these two club options need our approval to move forward, but, and both pass through our committee with a 3-0 vote.
And they are new, so they're not paid yet.
Correct.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we have two more.
And the next two are, one is a orchestra, chamber orchestra group at the middle school that was in place, kind of lost steam, I don't know if that's the right word, over COVID, and is now back engaged again, and renaming their group to Middle School Chamber from the Ukulele Club. And they were requesting for a paid advisor at this point because they have been in place for that 3 years. 3 years, yeah. And the Aviation Club has been in place for 3 years, and they are looking for approval for their paid advisor as well.
So we could take those two together, if people are in favor.
Make a motion to take that, those two groups?
So Ted, Judy, you want to do a second?
Sure.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we have the co-ops.
So this is a proposal to renew our co-op agreements for the gymnastics and the girls hockey. This is the time of year when that takes place. And this also passed through the curricular committee and the 3-0 vote.
And there's really no changes to these agreements that we've had.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Great, thank you, and thank you for all the opportunities for our kids. Moving on to the budget committee.
Steve, I'll have you walk us through that if you would.
Thank you, Jack. So we do not have an action item this evening. You do see where the Lamers contract is called out as a potential action item. The committee is asking Ally and I to go back and request some additional information from Lamers to bring it back to the next committee meeting. So there is no action item under the budget committee this evening. I will mention that open enrollment is on the agenda a little bit later tonight. We did review the open enrollment capacity with the budget committee. We did review the FTE planning for 24-25. So we will come back to that a little bit later when we look at the open enrollment tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. Next committee is our policy committee.
Great. Policy committee met, have a number of, as we've been continuing the process of looking at our 400 series now, there's a number that we've gone through and looking for approval. Steve, I don't know if you want to add any comments to this?
Yeah, there were three things, thank you,
Okay.
Ted, that Randy asked for me to talk about tonight. The first one was regarding the student accident insurance. I know that came up as a question at the committee meeting. So in your folder, you'll actually see the
They don't
policy.
have it in there.
Oh, okay, sorry. We did talk about that with Randy. I know that this came up at the committee. So what we're suggesting is a revision to the student accident policy where we had crossed off the language at the meeting. In yellow, we're stating that insurance is purchased by the district, just to make sure it's very clear that that is a policy that we purchase. It's not a voluntary policy for parents. And the policy can be accessed by parent guardians on an as-needed basis when a student is involved in an accident, as outlined in the following paragraph. And the next paragraph refers to basically during the school day or accidents that occur at school. So we have purchased that policy for the entire time I've been in the district for parents. The co-curricular is not purchased by the district. That would be an optional purchase. But during the school day, we do make that policy available, and so we needed to make that a little bit clearer than what it was before. Mark?
Steve, just to be clear, school-sponsored activities, if they're off property, they're still covered.
That's correct, yep.
Okay.
So that was the first one. The second one was the student suspension. We wanted to make sure that we noted the addition of the language regarding, Rebecca, you want to pull that one up? Regarding transportation. You're not going to be able to read that there, but basically it says regarding suspension on the bus as well, and that there is also a policy in the transportation area regarding student discipline that will be reviewed when we get to the 700s. So that was added in there as well. And the third comment was that I believe the expulsion policies we are requesting to pull them this evening. Randy is still working with the WASB attorneys in Kirkstring on the language for those, so we do
And
not.
Randy actually did have me pull them Friday. If you read the summary spreadsheet that we have, it's still on there, but we took them off of here, so you won't be voting on them tonight.
Yep, those are the three updates.
So we could take all of them that we have
I think Mark
together.
has a question.
Yeah, I did have a question, and I don't have it highlighted on my iPad, but in section for 446, it talks about parents, that the principal or administrator involved may notify the parent, and then when we get down to 448, it says the parent shall be notified, and I was just, you can read that two different ways with the may, and it sounded like they will do it, but it just, it was confusing to me on my read.
448. Do we
448, the policy when it talks about parental notification, says this parent shall be notified. In 446, the wording is may be notified, and I was just,
I
it
don't-
creates some
So-
ambiguity.
I don't think we have 448 in this group.
No.
No, we don't.
Suspensions?
Okay, look at this.
447.5.
Mine also have detention as 447, suspension is 448.
Is that the current numbering?
Is that the one that was pulled out?
447.5, I guess it is. I apologize.
So that's the one where you think the language is incorrect?
No, I think that's correct. I think it should be, that the suspension language is the parent shall be notified.
So you want to, you think we should change may in the
In which number?
In the 446, dune
Shall.
searching, shall be notified.
Oh, I see. Would
Feel like
you
we had some
be
discussion
willing
about
to
that.
give Randy leeway to approve what we have here with that note, that he will look into it and rewrite it before we post it?
I would just pull 446 for further discussion, gives Randy an opportunity to provide us feedback. So I guess I would make a motion to pull 446, send that back to the board, or the
Sure.
committee
Sure,
for
why not?
discussion.
Do we have any other, Marks, did anyone have any concerns with any of the other ones?
No. So approve all of them except for
We'll
46.
pull out
I
446.
second that motion.
Everybody, any other questions, concerns? Otherwise, we're voting on all the rest.
That's
So,
correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. So Rebecca,
Then Steve, you'll make that note.
Next is a facility committee meeting. We did have several things that we need to bring to the full board tonight. I don't know, Steve, if you want to jump through, there are 3 things that we need to vote on. 4 things.
Yeah, thank you. There are 4 items underneath the facility committee that were recommendations for the board this evening. The first one is regarding the Warrior pitch. The recommendation from the facility committee was to provide approval of a planning process for the Warrior pitch, including a lower cost design for the team center. So there was about a 30-minute discussion with community members regarding the topic of the Warrior pitch, the fundraising to date, the commitments that have been received. An update was provided by administration on the costs of the concession stand, as well as the original design of the team center concept. And the committee's making a recommendation to move forward only on a planning process. Really what the most immediate plan is to take a look at a lower cost design for the team center concept, because we have a higher cost design in the $850,000 to $900,000 range. We have a cost estimate for an expansion of concession stand, but there's a request to have another look at the design, a lower cost design for the team center, and that was a motion passed 3-0.
I think one of
Do
the
we
things.
know
Go ahead.
what funds are available at this point for that project?
Yes.
Yes, they have $95,000 as a balance, and they have $150,000 promised. So our fundraising group is pretty active with that.
I think one of the discussions that we had was, we're plopping things in. I think we asked the administration to do more of a master plan on what we need, as we go forward. And that's why I think we approved at least the planning, so that at least we can look at, the whole picture as opposed to sport by sport.
Because all the sports, they're all removed from the school, and our baseball, softball, soccer, they all need some facilities because of where they play their games. So, yeah, it's for planning only. So, any other questions? Maybe we'll go through these one by one.
Sure. So the second recommendation from the committee was regarding district-wide capital maintenance projects. So what we shared with the committee is that John Kramer, myself, and Scott Bauer are currently meeting with each of the building principals and administrators like Nick to review their facility maintenance needs. That is ongoing, and we will be bringing information back to the next facility committee meeting in February. But at the meeting, John Kramer did present a number of district-wide maintenance equipment requests to the committee. That request was included in board book for your review. The facility committee did review that information at the meeting and is recommending approval on a 3-0 motion. John certainly is available and can speak to any questions you might have regarding the equipment list.
So John, quick question on the robotic mowers. Those things are going to travel back to the maintenance facility that we've got up there, or will they be stored on the field?
So as of right now, because the electric power is at the maintenance facility complex building, the thought is that they would traverse back to the building to charge.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's just, so the robotic mowers. Is that for the athletic fields? Is that for overall maintenance?
So in talking with our ground supervisor, Ben, out there, we decided that putting them on the baseball fields would be the place to start with them because it's an enclosed area, it's an enclosed field. Although the devices would do no good to anybody if they were stolen. They would be inoperable, and they're completely safe around kids, or if they bump into anything, they're completely safe and wouldn't hurt anybody. But we still feel like keeping them in a confined space to try these out is probably the best start with them. So I think
The overall picture is to save on maintenance force where you can redirect them to different, other than mowing? Is that part of the idea?
Correct. This would allow our team members to do other things in the district that may need attention, weed whacking, curb painting. There's all kinds of stuff that could be doing that sometimes. Isn't always first priority.
Thank you.
So can we vote on those two? Because
Sure.
I think the next item is quite a bit different.
Motion to
So
approve.
the last two items, the planning of the pitch and these maintenance projects.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Because I feel the temporary contracting is kind of a different animal.
So at the facility committee meeting, Brian Grabarski joined the committee to talk about the status of the FTE for the custodial services at the high school. John, of course, was there as well to review the information that John had learned by contacting several contracted service firms. So Brian provided an update on the hiring process. John provided an update on contracted cleaning services. We did have a proposal in front of the facility committee from a firm named CleanMark. That is the same firm that is contracted to clean the wellness clinic that we have in the district. So John or Brian, do you have anything you'd like to share with the board on that agenda item?
Yeah, I think just to provide a little bit further information, what we talked about at the committee meeting was, fairly short timeline. We had 4 custodians resign from the district, which took us namely down to 60% of the crew that we needed at the high school building, which is our busiest and largest building, most consistently used building. But overall, the district is right now lacking 5.5 custodial FTE. What we had put, the reason we put this in front of the committee for their consideration, for your consideration, is we had not actually ever been able to hire in a short period of time that many custodians. In fact, we had been running into significant trouble even having candidates come to interviews. We were offering interviews and they would no-show. We have just at the end of last week, conducted several interviews. All 3 showed, which was a really great sign. And they were very quality candidates, in which we have offered roles to them. In addition, we've now offered another role to a separate interviewee. We are still seeking to confirm their acceptance. But if indeed all offered candidates accept, which we don't bat 100% on those, we might not be in the same position that we were when we were presenting this. However, we also might be exactly in the same spot if all turn around and say, no, thank you. And so I guess just kind of giving a little bit of the picture of where we're at, we have hopes to be able to, again, hire our own employees. We do think that's best, that is our desire. But, there is an unknown variable to that.
So Brian, with that in mind, you're seeing this as sort of a pinch hitter, or a pinch relief pitcher, until you can hire somebody. It's not going to become, if you do this, that position's going to be permanently staffed by a temp worker.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Mark. That's exactly how we view it. We look at this as a short-term stopgap for us to continue to do our own hiring. And, what we would like to do, and John's in conversations and can expand on that, with some of these providers or contractors, is we would love to have a higher degree of flexibility to, as we bring our own employees on, we can phase them out. That's not very attractive to them as a contractor because it's challenging for them to do business and staff as well. So what we would do is if we go this route, we would, again, have a short term window we'd be using it. We'd continue to actively hire. We would take those employees, bring them on board. We have, we do have absence in this group. We have needs in other buildings. We would plug in these individuals into areas of need in the district. And then as the contract would phase out, we would be having them back to the high school fully staffed and operating with our own employees.
Do you see this as like a temp agency, sort of, where you could actually transition? Because you're doing the training, right? And so potentially they could be the candidate to fill the role?
Well, again, depending on the contractor, some do have options of to hire, right? You can hire off their list. They're then going to ask for some compensation for that. That is a possibility. It's something we would write into a contract if we had that language. There isn't really a true, if you think of the definition of temp, right, where you might bring them in for a day, a week, that type of labor supply doesn't really exist, at least to the degree we've been able to find in our area in this need. But this is kind of the idea of we're trying to truncate that period of time down as far as we can.
So are they the same people that come every day, or is this going to be?
Yeah, the contractor I spoke with would have the same staff coming in. To the best of their ability, right?
Have you checked, are they pretty reliable? I would assume that you've done your due diligence there.
Yeah, we've actually worked with this group before in the past, and like I said, we use them at our lease space. But, on a positive note, like Brian mentioned, had some good interviews late last week and have put some offers out there to those candidates. So just turning it around, and I think like you guys mentioned, having this as kind of a pinch hitter, if you will, or something in the back pocket to fall back on. So a vote tonight would mean we'd have to execute on a contract.
So is Clean Mark the group you want to go with? Because when I read this and applied, you had others you were still looking at.
We're still looking and gathering information from others as well.
So do you want approval for the concept? Is that?
Yes, that's what you're voting on, is the concept.
So we really haven't had 100% fulfillment for very long at the high school. If you look at a 5-year period.
I would say that is an accurate statement. I don't know that I could accurately say going back 5 years. I would say going back 3 years, we have struggled to remain fully staffed within the custodial group across the district. The high school tends to be our most difficult building to staff because it's our most busy building. It's, you know, it's literally probably used 360 days out of the year, and that creates, outside of a normal pattern of cleaning, setup, take down, support, that makes it a more challenging place to work. And so staff will sometimes hire staff, and they'll seek a transfer to another building to find that more predictable, smaller environment. But overall, the high school has been our greatest challenge to staff, for sure.
And so we'd be short at, I mean, with this you haven't seen the other contracts or from other sources, so is this clean March request where they say that excludes event cleaning? I mean, that would be kind of a big one then at the high school, you wouldn't have those resources.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna, you know, this is a kind of beyond what we've already plotted out, but, you know, what we would use or do typically with a service like this is we would probably look to redesign how our cleaning occurred. Like, we might use a cruise like this to take care of, perhaps, for example, they might take care of all the bathrooms,
Yep.
right? And then our other custodians do other related duties. You know, and so that could be event setup, that could be, you know, hallway, classroom, those kinds of things. I'm very much shooting off the hip on that one, Ted, but
Yeah.
we would definitely be looking to redesign to make their work consistent and within the scope of what they're willing to do, and then meeting our needs as well.
So we're looking at both just on the concept, not a particular number or firm, just giving them the ability to do this when needed.
So moved.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And we have one last item, the steel purchase.
Thank you. So Jay Thompson from Vogel joined the facility committee meeting to talk about the middle school construction. This coincides with the discussion that we had a month ago with both the facility committee and the budget committee about maximizing our interest proceeds from the referendum funds. And in order to do so, we have to put a spending plan in place for 2024. One of the ideas that Vogel has brought forward to us is to purchase, working with Endress Manufacturing, the joist and steel decking for the new middle school. Endress has been working with Vogel on this concept and actually has pricing that is being held through the meeting tonight. The good news that Jay shared with the facility committee is the pricing on that particular material set has come down in the 20% range from earlier in 2023. So Jay did share with the committee that it's a real positive situation right now on this particular set of materials from a financial perspective, and it's a great time for the district to be executing a contract like that. The materials could be brought on site sometime around July. They would be there a few months before they would be needed, but it would be stored on site and available, and would also help meet our need to cash flow some expenses by August 1st. So we do appreciate Vogel working with the district and knowing that we have that goal of meeting those expenditure requirements. Jay presented that information to the facility committee, and the recommendation was to move forward on an approval on a 3-0 motion for consideration tonight.
So moved.
Second. Jack and Katie.
There was Ted, actually, Ted first. Yeah.
It was a tie.
Arm wrestle.
Just said it differently.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. And moving on to our administrative reports, our open enrollment capacity recommendations.
Sure, thank you, Joan. So there's a couple items I want to share with the board members and also any community members who might be, watching the meeting tonight. So for open enrollment, the state of Wisconsin requires every school board to make an approval during the month of January of the capacity for the following September. So all school boards across the state will be doing that this month. And once that decision has been made, it cannot be changed later on. So if a teacher is added in a particular grade level or a decision is made to go in a different direction with staffing, you cannot go back and change the open enrollment capacity. So whatever is approved tonight is what we will carry forward throughout the process. What guides the decision-making is the school board's policy on open enrollment. And a couple of very important things to note. The school board's policy on open enrollment requires administration to do the calculations based on what's called the optimal class size, not the maximum. So if you were going to look at like grades kindergarten, first and second grade as an example, the optimal level is 20, the maximum is 22. So the calculation for open enrollment would only identify capacity if we are underneath the 20, not the 22. So it's important to note the difference that the board's policy prioritizes class size and focusing on the optimal level. There's a couple components in our policy that's always important to remind ourselves. The first one is it affects some resident Waunakee families. So our policy does grant automatic approval if you happen to be a Waunakee resident right now, and let's say you move out and build a home outside of the Waunakee boundaries. Because you are in our student count right now, our policy guarantees continued enrollment if that's what the family selects in Waunakee. The second thing that our policy guarantees is if you are an open enrollment family and we have accepted one of your students in a prior year, we will keep the family together. And so if another family member applies, the family can then attend our district. Those are options in state law, but in our policy, we grant both of those exceptions for the Waunakee students who move out or for open enrollment families so they can go to school in one location. Those would definitely be viewed as family-friendly components of our open enrollment policy. So what we reviewed with the budget committee, Rebecca, would you mind bringing up the first sheet there? So I'll show you this one first. So thank you, Tiffany, for doing this. Another component that goes along with all of the calculations is the special ed availability. So the special education availability is a calculation that Tiffany does that goes with the open enrollment calculations. So for students who apply for open enrollment who have an IEP, we also compare the capacity for special education services. So you see that attached in board book. Tiffany went through and completed those calculations for us. And then Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind opening up the second attachment. And what we wanted to share with you, obviously this is a lot of numbers on the spreadsheet, but on the left-hand side, what you see on the left-hand side of the calculation is our current student enrollment as of the end of December. So Allie worked with Julie Gangler, our registrar, to make sure that the enrollment numbers were exact at the end of December. And that's what you see on the left-hand side. So it is as accurate as we can make it. On the right-hand side is a projected student enrollment based on our budget planning model. So as far as accuracy, on the left is as accurate as we can make it because it's through December. On the right-hand side is a projection based on a mathematical model. When we looked at this with the budget committee was encouraging the board this evening to look at the left-hand side, basically the most recent information we have available today. But when you look at the comparison across the two of them, for the majority of the numbers, it's really going to be irrelevant because we're not going to hit, if you go down to the middle school, 7th grade, we're not going to have 27 applicants in 7th grade. So whether you're looking at 27 or 23, we don't receive that many applications in one grade level. So the committee was looking at the left-hand side, which is based on the most accurate information we have available. Ally also walked the committee through the section planning for next year based on the enrollments for each of the 3 elementary schools and the intermediate school, and that is factored into the left-hand side as well. So the most accurate information that we can share with you is what's highlighted in yellow, and that's what the budget committee was looking at last week. We'd be more than happy to answer any board members' questions on any of the information in front of you this evening. If your question is regarding special ed capacity, I would ask Tiffany to help address that.
I would like to add on that we voted for this, but it was also the recommendation from our administration that this was the preferred one to go with.
Yep, thank you, Mark.
Steve, do we address 4K at all in open enrollment?
Yeah, so the 4K line is right here. And so, sorry, you can't really see that off of here, but there's 37 openings. Typically, we have around 30 to 35 applications that come in for 4K. Typically, each year, around 10 to 15 4K students are families who actually work in Waunakee, bring their 4-year-old, and then they end up going back to their home district. So typically 20 to 25 of those the students will stay with us in the kindergarten.
If I'm reading this correctly, next year we have openings for two new students in kindergarten.
If you want to scroll up, we have the schools broken out, so we would have, yep, 0, 0, and 2. Yep, that's correct. Yep. Any questions at all?
Any further questions? If not, we do need to approve this tonight for them.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any concerns, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And we are now down to, do you have any announcements or correspondence, Steve?
We do not.
So the consent agenda, there are a few field trips. You can pull anything out if you'd like. I would like to, again, thank the Mefford family for the $1,000 in the Pride Pump donation that they make monthly. That is very appreciated. And if you don't want to pull it out, I would take a motion to approve all of them.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on anything? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, thank you. So under convention and workshops, we do have our state convention starting on Tuesday, the 16th, I believe. And maybe after the meeting tonight, if anybody wants to talk about the polling thing. But Rebecca, you don't need anything. You have sent out an agenda, thank you. So, future meetings. Do you have a list, Steve, that you want to have?
Yes, we do have a number of committees that we're requesting meetings this evening. To begin with, we would like to have the Budget and Facility Committee meet, if possible, the week prior to the board meeting. So we could start with those.
So, budget, which is Jack, Mark, and Dawn.
So you're looking at
The week of
The week of February 5th, if possible.
I just appreciate not using Monday, if it's going to be late afternoon.
Do you want to do a Monday?
Can we
Any
do-
day but Monday that week.
If there's availability to call in, I don't know with certainty if I'm traveling that week, but if we have the ability to call in, if we had a 7:30 a.m. meeting,
That
I can
works
call
any day.
in any day.
Okay.
So do you want to do it the 6th?
At 7:30? Sure.
7:30.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and you need facility?
Can we
Yep.
do the facility meeting on Thursday, the 8th at 7:30?
That works for me. Jack?
That'll work.
Good, 7:30, the 8th,
At this time? Yes.
okay.
Rebecca, did Randy give you any dates for policy?
He didn't, but we're not, we're actually, other than a few loose ends, we're actually caught up with WSB at the time, so I need to do something with, I need to firm up some time with Barry at WSB before we could really do any.
Okay, all right. Brian, how about HR?
I think based on the time of this month, we'll look to establish something in February.
Okay. Tim, are you all set for curriculum?
Yep, we're all set, Steve.
Does co-curricular need to meet?
I don't think so. And we have DEI scheduled.
For the 25th,
The 25th.
I have it as 5:30 p.m.
Yeah. Was the curriculum?
It's on Monday, the 22nd.
Okay.
We moved it because of convention.
Yeah, I thought I had seen it on the convention, but I didn't. Okay. Anything else? Do we want to look at that, going over our evaluation? Because it's due in March, and then we have spring break in there, like that, and then we have the election week in there. Sometime in that neighborhood, we should schedule,
Spring break is the last week in March.
Spring break is the week of the 25th.
the 25th.
Yep.
And the new board takes over on April 22nd.
So we need to schedule it between, spring break and that new board taking over.
Is that something we do in closed session?
Brandy's is in closed session and the
Part
rest
of
is
it.
all in open.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if we could pick,
I'm not sure how fast you guys could go through it too. You wanted to start like at early and try to do it before the board meeting, but I think that would be a little crazy.
no, because we don't have people that can come until about 5:30. I'm wondering about the week of our board meeting. We don't usually have very many meetings the week of our board meeting. We usually have them the week before. So what about the week of April 8th? Could we select an evening that week? And we just get that on the calendar? 9th or 11th work for you? 9 is good for me.
Yep, works.
Can we put that on the calendar
At this time?
at this time?
What are we calling this?
This is an evaluation meeting. We will do a summary of all of our
In a
evaluations.
special meeting, we need to vote on it.
And we do need to have that assigned as a special
And
meeting.
what time?
Should we say 5:30 for the work people? Okay, 5:30 on April 9th.
And what did you say was on the 23rd of April, maybe? Some of
The
them?
22nd of April is when the new board takes over.
And we have to have this meeting before the new board takes over.
Okay.
So April 9th, 5:30 for our
Motion to approve.
evaluation. So we have a motion by
Second.
Mark, second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. I like getting that on the calendar. I think that's all I need. Motion to adjourn? Yes?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
8
Scare you?
Oh my gosh, that was relaxing.
Don't tell Randy.
Well, that's all right. That's
Keep it a
very
top
impressive.
secret.
Wow.